Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you're new here. Hey, hi, hello. My name is Chantal. I'm a watercolor artist and illustrator, and today I wanted to make a video on what it was like to illustrate my first children's book. I have actually just started writing and illustrating my first book, and I posted a video on social media about starting the journey, and it kind of went viral, blew up a little bit, and now I have people asking me so many questions about writing, illustration process, children's book, publishing, etc. And the book that I'm working on at the moment isn't actually my first. I illustrated my first book last year called Only in the Kimberley by Emily Bridgman, and it is a beautiful book set in Western Australia, and it was such a privilege to illustrate it for her and bring her vision to life. And I wanted to share the process with you guys because I have watched the children's book process by Minnie Moo and Sean from Furry Little Peach, and my journey was completely different. So I thought I would come on here today and share it with you all. Before we get into this video, I just want to say that I have launched something very, very special and exciting. I now have a Patreon. So if you guys want to support the journey of me writing and illustrating my own children's book, then you can do that on my Patreon. There'll be watercolor tutorials, there'll be digital downloads, there'll be behind the scenes. If you're an aspiring writer, illustrator, want to get into children's books, anything to do in that sphere of knowledge, I am going to be documenting the entire process of this journey, in-depth analyses on characterization, on my children's book spreads, on writing a children's book, on getting published, on getting the word out there, on marketing. I'm going to be telling you guys literally everything that I am doing for my children's book and to set it up for a successful launch into the world. So if you're in that sphere and you want to gain knowledge and you just feel very stuck, then come and join my journey. You're going to be learning along with me, my lessons, my mistakes, and honestly, I think that is sometimes the most valuable acquisition of knowledge is from learning someone else firsthand. And yeah, I'm so excited to take you guys along that process. The other thing that I have is called Fairy Mail. So if you're signed up to the Star Fairy tier, not only do you get all that juicy goodness that I just said beforehand, but you also get Fairy Mail, which is art mail delivered into your mailbox every month. And it's an art print, not just a postcard, it's an art print of a fairy of the month. So it's a watercolor painting of mine, and you also get a jumbo sticker, and then you also get some other magical mystery items to do with that fairy of the month. And I'm very excited about it. I'm super excited to send them off to you, and it's worldwide, postage included. So I mean, I don't know, if you're not signed up yet, what are you doing? Go sign up, like literally. Hey guys, it's Editing Chantal and my little dog. Oh, Pootie, this is not something to eat. And we just want to say that the Star Fairy tier has turned over to a new month. And I just created a mood board for that month, which is the Earth Fairy, and I'm going to be creating the fairy print very, very soon. So if you guys wanted to jump on and grab it, but I also just have one more spot left for last month's Star Fairy Mail, so you could go grab that. Be quick, there's only one left. And then after that one, we'll turn over to the new month, which is the Earth Fairy. Now, I have actually had a lot of people reach out to me about children's book illustration services on my Instagram and through my TikTok. However, Emily actually reached out to me on Fiverr, which I wasn't even managing or updating at the time. It was a complete coincidence that I actually was like, let's log on and see what's happened, and saw that a week ago she had actually inboxed me and said, hey, love your portfolio, what are your rates, let's get onto it, you know. And I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. I loved her children's book storyline, the fact that it was set in Australia. I mean, we need more children's books set in Australia, of course. It was also a book that I could see myself undertaking as a first-time illustrator. There weren't characters that had to be translated on each page, and you know, it wasn't a portrait book either. So I was like, you know what, I can absolutely do this, and I can do it to a high standard. Emailed her back, and then she couldn't work how to reply to me. So she then reached out to my Instagram and we talked from there, and then we went on to emailing. But I do just want to touch base here that I think having a professional and consistent online portfolio is really important, because a lot of creative directors and clients that are looking for illustrators will now use like Instagram or TikTok as a search engine. They will be looking up children's book illustrators in like the search engine of like those social media platforms. And so if you're wanting to get clients and get deals, I really suggest making a really nice professional portfolio on social media that clients can find you. And I'm not saying you need a large social media following or you need a following at all. You just need something that clients can see very quickly, that what your art style is, what your work is about, and what you stand for. And if you don't have that, then they're not even going to go and look on your portfolio. They're not going to click any further. So I really advise that you have that set up if you're wanting to get into getting more clients. Really put yourself out there as a professional and someone who has experience already, because then they're going to take you seriously. So if that's something that you're not doing right now, I suggest you go do it. Make sure that your style is apparent, because that's super, super important. Usually in book illustration, we won't sign any contracts or go forward with a deal unless we've done a spot illustration. And this is something that I really like to do as an illustrator, and I know a lot of authors will like to do this as well. It's really important, for one, they know what they're getting, and number two, they know how their storyline is going to translate into your art style, what they can expect from the rest of the book. So it's really important to just do like a really affordable spot illustration. I think we just did one of like a boab tree, and just seeing like how you guys also vibe and what the art style looks like. And it's really important that they understand my level of work and that we're both on the same page. So that's really important to do a spot illustration. 3 things that I also want to talk about are copyright, rates, and payment processes. Number 1, never ever ever sell your copyright. Once you sell your copyright, you sell your rights to your artwork to be controlled, manipulated, and distributed out of your control. So I really advise against ever selling your copyright, especially if you are an emerging artist, because you have no idea how much your work will be worth in the near future. So it's just my opinion, but I very much disagree that you should ever sell your copyright. Another thing is rates, and there are 3 ways that I work out my rates as a illustrator, and they are the subject matter, the storyline, the time frame, the page number, and the book size. And once I have all those things from an author, I can usually give a very good quote or an accurate quote. I get a lot of inquiries about book illustration work, and usually people are quite shocked at how much book illustration is, and I'm just like, you're paying for a whole damn painting per page. Like, I have friends that sell commission paintings from $5,000 to $10,000. I don't know why it should be a shock when I say a whole book filled with paintings is $10,000. Like, I think that is quite standard, especially in the industry, that you could be expecting anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000 for your book. It just really depends on those 5 criteria that I told you about and how detailed you want your work is. I mean, for me personally, my illustrations are incredibly detailed and incredibly hard to find in the industry, and I think that really kind of sets me apart from everyone else. And so I don't know why it should be a shock to people when they come and they realize that my rates are actually quite average in the industry. So I don't know why it's a shock to some authors that this is how much book illustration really is, because it really is so much more difficult than doing a one-time commission. Because once you have a one-time commission, you have the details from the client and then you translate it to an artwork. With a book illustration, you're going backwards and forwards, constantly communicating with a client, translating their storyline into images, and then translating those images on every single page to a story that flows. Holy my God, that is an entire talent in itself than just painting an artwork. And so to me, those skills should be appreciated so much more than just creating a painting. And that's just my personal experience. Also, I just want to pop in here and say, Emily was an absolute delight to work with, and she is the most beautiful, down-to-earth human being. And it was an absolute privilege to be able to create her story and bring it into reality as an illustrated, storyline. If I rant anytime in this video or if I say anything negative, it has nothing to do with her, because it was an absolute pleasure, beautiful experience to work on this book with her. Oh my god, I hope this is better. I film everything on my phone and my tripod is broken and the clouds keep coming over and making my sun disappear. So I am trying my best to capture the best footage. So let's move on to payments. And I think this process is pretty standard in any children's book illustrating. And that is that you usually get paid in full or you get an advance, depending on whether you get royalties. Now, I didn't get any royalties because Emily is self-published, and I know how hard it can be when you're self-published, you're not with a big publisher. It's really hard sometimes to, cover your expenses and begin to make a profit. It takes like a really long time. And so I was just super excited to land my first illustration deal that I didn't really care about the royalties. And so yeah, that was just something that I was happy with. But if you want royalties, that is something that you will have to negotiate with your client. The other thing is that royalties are usually only 3 to 5% as an illustrator, which I think is crazy and extremely low. I mean, the publisher is set up to maximize profit. So what are you expecting? And that's another reason that I'm going to be self-published for my own children's book when it comes out next year, and it's something that I talk about in my Patreon, and I might touch on it later in this video. Your payments are usually given to you in 3 stages. 25% is delivered when you first sign the contract, another 25% is given when you deliver the full final sketches, and 50% is given on the delivery of the final artwork. And I think that is pretty standard in any kind of process, that procedure of payments. But yeah, moving on from payments, let's go into the actual process of illustrating this book. Now, I think that my illustration process is one of the most in-depth that I have seen, and that's just because I paint with watercolor and my work is extremely detailed. Once I put paint to paper, I can't take it back off and I can't change anything. It's not like a digital artwork, or even if you're using gouache or acrylic, I can't change anything and I can't backpedal. So I really need to make sure that my client is completely happy with the illustrations before I go and, put pen to paper, so to speak. My process of drafting and sketching usually happens in 3 stages, and there are 3 revision processes. I'm gonna read because it's pretty intense, guys. So usually I start with a rough draft, and a rough draft is not true to size, but it is true to scale. And it just maps out the most important objects and where we're kind of putting stuff. Then I'll send it off to the client, they'll revise it, they'll give me feedback, and then I come back and I'll do a second draft, and that will be true to size, and that will be refining composition, defining character movements and objects, and just a little bit more detail. I'll then send that one off to the client, they'll send it back with any thoughts, and I will go on to the third process, which is rendering the final draft. So basically drawing up the exact illustration, and then I send that one off for a final edit, and really by then we should only be editing very small minor details like the size of a toenail on a goanna. That's something like very small details that I can easily just quickly change. But yeah, once the client's happy, I will then use that final draft to do a color mock-up. So I'll go on Photoshop and I will pick out the colors based on, any inspiration material they've given me for the spread, and I will do a quick color mock-up of the colors that I'm going to use. But once they're happy with those colors, they're happy with the final sketch, then I will translate it to a watercolor piece of paper and I will start illustrating. Now, I do all the spreads at once. So I don't do like one sketch, send it off, 3 drafts, and then I move on to the second page. Like I do all 24 or whatever number it is at once, and that just streamlines my process and makes everything quick. What I do one page by one page, of course, is like illustrating it with watercolor, and I think we had the process for getting the final drafts done in 1 month, and then after that I was given 3 months to do the illustrations, and I think I'd pushed it out to 4 months just so I had a little bit more time, and I really wanted to put all my energy into doing them. That's kind of my process. It also takes me about 1 week to illustrate a spread, and for Emily's book we didn't have any spot illustrations or one full page illustrations. They were just all long spreads, which actually kind of made things a little bit, you know, easier for me to work with and understand because everything was the same. So yeah, that was my illustrations process. Moving on to the next part of the journey. Now for me, I personally like to photograph all my work rather than scan them. I just don't have the facilities here on Kangaroo Island to scan my artwork or have access to such large scanners. So yeah, I just use my DSLR camera and I shoot in RAW, so then I can go in Photoshop and then I edit those images to fit as closely to the original in terms of color. And just from experience, I'm pretty proficient in Photoshop and being able to do that to my watercolor artwork, just because I know what I'm looking for. But yeah, I then send them off to her in TIFF files and PNGs, and then of course she goes on to that process of designing the book and actually working with a designer and getting an SBN and looking for publishers and printing places in Australia. So yeah, that's part of something that I'm going to take you guys along in my own journey. But yeah, that's kind of my part is over. The last step, a lot of people would say, is actually marketing your book and getting it out into the world, which is why I'm making this video. Sorry guys, it wasn't just all about giving knowledge. You should go and buy the book as well. It is available in my shop for pre-order. I think it'll be sent out in 3 weeks by the time this video gets up, and I'm super excited. I actually have never seen the book myself. I have not held it in my hands, so I'm super excited to actually hold the physical copy in my hands myself, and as soon as I do, I will be showing you. But if you would like to support me and my work, the pre-order is up in my shop. It'll actually be sent out quite soon. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like, you can support me on my Patreon and go and follow me illustrating and writing and producing my children's book in real time on my Instagram. But of course, I will be documenting the entire journey here on YouTube as well when I get to editing the footage. So yeah, thank you so much. Buy our book, Only in the Kimberley. It's in my bio for pre-order. See you next time.